Growing up, Thanksgiving was quiet. After my mother passed away, the holiday lost its rhythm. No big dinners, no warm gatherings, just silence where celebration used to be. So when that first Thanksgiving arrived in our new town with my wife and our 6-month-old baby beside me, it felt like a chance to begin again, to create something new from the pieces of what had been missing. We had just bought our first home. The boxes were still stacked in corners, the walls still bare. The house was ours, but it didn't quite feel like home yet. Life was exciting, but also lonely. We were building a future, but we had no relatives nearby. For my wife, the ache was sharper. Her family was more than 6,000 miles away in China. Thanksgiving was coming, and though we were grateful, the thought of spending the holiday quietly, just the three of us, left us longing for connection. That afternoon, with a chill in the November air, we bundled up the baby and went looking for somewhere to eat. The streets were quiet. Most places were closed. We passed houses glowing with warmth. Families gathered around tables. Finally, we spotted a small family restaurant, golden light glowing in the windows. Inside, laughter rose above the clinking of silverware. It looked like just what we needed. We stepped in, hopeful. The smell of roasted turkey, sweet potatoes, and pumpkin pie wrapped around us like a blanket. But before we could sit, a waitress came over. Her voice was kind, but apologetic. She explained the restaurant was closed, open only to staff and their families that day. Of course, it made sense. Thanksgiving is for family. And we were outsiders. We nodded politely, thanked her, and began to leave. And then, something happened. Another woman approached. She introduced herself as the owner. She looked at us with warm eyes and said, "You should stay. Yes, normally this is just for family, but today we'd be honored to have you as our guests." We were stunned, nervous, unsure, but she insisted, and so we stayed. They led us to a long table filled with steaming platters of food. From the moment we sat down, they treated us as though we had always belonged. Someone scooted over to make room, another passed us a basket of rolls. The same waitress who had first turned us away poured us glasses of cider with a smile. Conversation blossomed. They asked about our baby, laughing when he grabbed at a spoon. My wife shared a little about her life in China, the foods she missed, the traditions she carried in her heart. The listeners listened with genuine interest. One man leaned in, nodding thoughtfully. Another offered stories of his own grandparents who had once come to America from far away. Plates of turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and green beans were passed hand to hand. A teenage boy slid a plate of pie toward us, grinning. "You've got to try this. It's my grandma's recipe." In that moment, something shifted. We realized what we were missing wasn't food. It was belonging. At that table, my wife leaned close and whispered, "So, this is Thanksgiving." And I could see in her eyes that she understood. Thanksgiving wasn't about parades or recipes. It wasn't about decorations. It was about kindness, about gratitude, about making room for others, even strangers. Later that night, as we drove home under a sky scattered with stars, our baby asleep in the back seat, my wife squeezed my hand and whispered, "That was the best Thanksgiving." And she was right, because it wasn't about the food. It was about the welcome. It was about the love we felt from people who had no reason to include us, but did anyway. Since then, we've carried that kindness forward. My wife now makes pumpkin pie from scratch. She roasts a turkey, and she always leaves room for an extra plate at the table just in case someone else finds themselves alone. Because she knows, and we all know, that Thanksgiving is not just what we eat, but the love we share and the welcome we extend to others. That first Thanksgiving in our new town will always be the most special of all, because it was the day we learned that home isn't just where you live, it's where you are welcomed.